Hey everybody, it's LavenderTowne, and today I'm going to be literally drawing the women from r/menwritingwomen. So here's our first character description. Desiderata rose and stood at the mirror, the longest mirror in the demesne, made just for her, so that she could examine herself from the high arches of her feet, up her long legs, past her hips and thighs, and the deep recess of her navel to her breasts, her upright shoulders, her long and tapered neck, deep-cut chin, a mouth made for kissing, long nose and wide gray eyes with lashes so long that sometimes she could lick them. So I like this one for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's really funny that this is how a female character is evaluating herself. I feel like when girls look in the mirror at themselves, these just aren't the things necessarily, or the way that we would see ourselves. Like, it feels very much like a guy's eyes, in her head, like especially calling out the high arches of her feet. I've only ever heard women in my life talk about their high arches when they're complaining about the fact that their shoes don't have adequate arch support, not as like a, something that you would shout out from the mirror. I mean, this is strange, but the thing that definitely stood out to me the most was the lashes so long that sometimes she could lick them. So we're going to draw her with her iconic lashes. We weren't given too much detail about her hair or anything, and I had to throw in those high arches, so I just kind of cranked her foot up there. I know it's not maybe the most natural pose, but this isn't the most natural prose, so I'm hoping you'll see it for what it is. And I gave her lips made for kissing, which also, I mean, this is just an appalling way to refer to your own mouth. Maybe there's girls out there who are like deep in their Lana Del Rey phase who would romanticize themselves to this point, but I just think it's very strange from a female perspective at yourself. But I tried to give her those lips. I definitely was not sure exactly what that means, but I'm guessing it's just lips that are really like plush and soft, so it's a nice soft landing for the kisser. Yeah, so this was a good one to start off with, just a nice close-up of the face. The only body detail we really got was the long legs, and when I looked up deep cut chin, all that came up was a bunch of first aid for lacerations on the chin, so I have no idea what that means. I was tempted to give her like a butt chin, but I kind of just left it off because I have no idea what is being said here, really. And just to be clear, before we get too much farther in the video, I do understand that a lot of these descriptions are like hyperbolic, or they're trying to, exaggerate to make it more evocative, but I did think it would be fun to draw all of these characters literally. So yeah, that's kind of the whole concept. Up next is a section from Salt by Adam Roberts. She moved very gracefully, like a dancer, although she was actually rather squat physically. She was less defined by curves than most women. Her figure was more square, and her breasts had the solid squareness of car headlights. Her legs went straight down, and her waist did not dip inwards. But she was still extremely graceful. She moved on the front of her feet, tripping forward and back as if in a perpetual dance, and her face was very beautiful. So this one I actually like a lot more. Spoiler alert, a lot of the other descriptions are going to be sort of samey. I feel like in general, a lot of these characters that end up on this Reddit are like usually just like an extremely exaggerated, like desirable female archetype, like the most like stereotypical and conventional one, where they're always like blonde and like impossibly skinny and very young looking. So this one was interesting because this character isn't necessarily falling into that. I do think that it probably ended up on here because this is just such an unhinged way to refer to somebody. And I also think it's a little bit mean that like the idea that she's graceful is so shocking because she's not like waifish, that they have to like mention it multiple times, that like, no, trust me, like really, even though she's not skinny, she's still like graceful. Which is a little funny, but anyway, the highlighted standout piece of this is obviously that her breasts had the solid squareness of car headlights. We're definitely going to be focusing on that in the drawing. I also think the detail in which her body is discussed is pretty, like, I'm definitely getting a picture. And the ultimate mistake that Adam Roberts made when it came to me drawing this is by calling her square rather than rectangular, which means that I'm not going to just make her look blocky. I'm going to make her look square. So her torso is like quite literally like a square shape, and so is, you know, the upper part of her chest. I just think it's extremely funny. Now, car headlights in the modern day actually have kind of a swoopy, like squished oval look to them a lot of the time, but I'm guessing that he means like these types of car headlights, which are just, I mean, you don't get more square than that. And their solidness is also called out, so I'm not going to give it any pliability, any squish here. She's basically smuggling, you know, she's going Minecraft mode. Let's just say that. And because she wasn't explicitly called pale, I'm going to make her a little more tan, because there's going to be a lot of pale girlies in this video, and just for a little more visual excitement. I tried to make sure to convey it in her pose, that she's really graceful and light on her feet. I like the way that this author described the way that she like moved back and forth on the front of her feet. Usually I would call that like the ball of the foot, but I really feels like it conveys that idea of a character who's sort of effortlessly graceful. And I also realized in my own self that I don't often draw characters that have this sort of like dancey posing when they are like blockier or heavier looking. So it was an interesting challenge, and it sort of made me realize some of my own like biases and stuff, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, here she is. I honestly kind of love her, our blocky princess with her beautiful face. Next up is a segment from Easy Prey by John Sanford. In the summer of her 16th year, Lynn and Lil took her to a model agency in Minneapolis, and the agent liked what she saw. Ali had knife-edge cheekbones and those jade green eyes. They came straight from God in a perfect package, with white blonde hair, a flawless complexion, delicate shoulder blades, and hips so narrow she'd have trouble giving birth to a baling wire. Now, I looked it up, and this is a baling wire, so it's, you know, it's like a wire. This is suggesting a narrowness of the hips that is haunting and terrifying, and I'm going to draw that, of course. This one's especially bad, I think, because, like, they go out of their way to immediately self-incriminate by saying it's her 16th year, so we're describing a 16-year-old in possibly the creepiest way I've ever seen. It's possible that this book is, like, about the predatory nature of modeling agencies, so I'm not going to say that, you know, the author is a creep or anything, but definitely weird. Weird vibes. And if we're drawing this literally, obviously she's going to be a bit nightmare fuel here. The knife-edge cheekbones, of course, this is hyperbole, but I'm going to give her some sharp cheekbones. Like, we're going all in. And I color sampled directly from some jade to get the right tones for her eyes. And she's just basically, she looks like she's been shoved feet first into a pencil sharpener. It's a little horrifying. I'm not gonna lie, like, as I was drawing it, I was like getting a little icked out. I think it's interesting that there really are two different types of ways to get on this Reddit as a author, and they do actually have some done by women authors as well. There's a whole tag for it, so this isn't exclusively a guys writing women thing, but it really is either that you're having a character who's like a female character describing herself or her friends in a way that just doesn't sound authentic to like how women think about themselves and each other generally, or you have to go so hard on the creepy description or the like nonsensical description that you end up on the Reddit. I think those are like the two pathways. It's either like female friend describing her friend the way that like a teenage boy would describe like his celebrity crush, or someone saying something like she would have trouble giving birth to a baling wire. Like, that is such a weird thing to say and so like kind of disturbing, I feel like, especially because I feel like focusing on her age alongside the narrowness of her hips just feels really gross, like very like sketchy and like almost, I don't even know, like it's definitely sort of like you know, like thin obsessed culture, but it's also like the hips specifically, like that's a marker of like going through puberty, I feel like. So it's very sus and weird. But again, like maybe this is just to really emphasize how creepy like the modeling industry is. I don't know. I have not read the book. I'm basing all of these off of just what you're seeing here. So everything else, of course, I'm having to sort of fill in on my own. Exactly the woman for you. Is she not beautiful? Her back is straight, her limbs supple and strong, her lips like plump love apples. Her hair is spun gold, her eyes blue sapphires. Her skin is smoother than the finest silk, her bosom fine and well-rounded. Her hips are... He cut her off frantically, his cheeks heating. I know she's pretty. What are you doing? I am describing her. So this one's weird. Number one, because of the lips like plump love apples. We're gonna get to that. I did not know what a love apple was, but I did find out. But I think the main issue here really is like the like insane like horniness of this character, the way that they're describing this female friend of theirs that they're trying to convince the protagonist to date. And this is one of the trends and like tropes that I really don't like. This happens in anime as well, actually. A character, like a female character, will be really like gross to one of her female friends when talking about her with a male friend. And it's just weird. Like, I don't really see that in life. Maybe this is a thing, but like I've never really encountered it, I guess. Yeah, the plump love apples and the bosom and all of this, it's just, it's not giving like authentic female experience, at least in my opinion, but it is really funny. Especially, yeah, the lips thing. So a love apple is apparently another name for tomato. So the problem I have here is that each lip is supposed to be a tomato, the way I'm reading this. It's like her lips are like plump love apples, plural. So that means that her lips are so plump and round that each one could be a tomato. So I really went in. She looks a little bit like she's been eating bees. But other than that, she looks kind of cute and Princess Peach-like. And of course I sampled the blues from Sapphire as well for her eyes. I also noticed a correlation, at least in this video, of the female characters who end up getting described in this insane way, often having also really, really weird names. Like, even in the one where she's just in Minneapolis, her name is like Ali instead of just Ali. So I'm not sure what's going on there. It seems like the types of writers who describe the characters with plump love apples and hips so narrow they couldn't birth a baling wire are also likely to be using the naming conventions of like a Mormon mom naming her baby. But I digress. That's a topic for another time. And there we have it. Here are my literal drawings of girls from the r/menwritingwomen Reddit. I hope you guys enjoyed. This is just a silly video idea, but if you had fun with it, please let me know and maybe I'll do a part 2. Thanks so much for watching till the end, and I'll see you in the next one. A huge thank you to all of my patrons, including Grexius, Olia, Liddy Savior, Roro, Rayons, Vorpalmat, Brandon Stark, CB, Crosby F, Lucy Yamajiki, Liv, Salty Jackrabbit, Ravens Crow, Zosalot, T-Hill Music, Jabber Dabber Doo, Kadaria, Deadly Nightshade Art, Astral Fox Art, The Expressive Poker Face, Subaki, Cutie Pie, Ruined Raincrow, Ice Cream Pal, Cola, JJ Jade, and of course, Lib.